What's up, future millionaires? Today we're going to be going over what is the stock market. I know that for some people that might sound a bit confusing, but it's honestly not that complicated. So we're going to break down today, first of all, as I said, what is the stock market, when you should invest, and why you should invest. So without further ado, let's get right into it. To put it simply, the stock market is a place where you're able to buy, sell, and hold shares of companies. A share of a company is owning a piece of a company. So if there's 1,000,000 shares of Tesla and you own one share, you now own 1/1,000,000th of Tesla. So these companies that are on the stock market are known as public companies. Some of these companies that you might know of would be Apple, as I said, Tesla, Microsoft, Best Buy, and many more. There are thousands of stocks that you can buy on the stock market. The true value behind investing is that you are able to retire off of your investments. There's this common rule called the 4% rule that you must know if you are investing in the stock market and want to retire off your investments in the stock market. The idea is that annually, so every year, you can take out 4% of your investments and your money will stay at a pace where it can keep beating inflation, so your money will hold the same monetary value. For instance, if you wanted to have $50,000 a year to retire off of, to live off of, you would have to have $1.25 million in the stock market, which I know may sound hard, but it's really doable if you put away money every month and have good habits. So, what do I want you to do with this information? Well, what I'd like you to do is think about how much money you'd like to live off of every year when you retire. Then take that amount and times it by 25. That is because that sum that you get will be how much money you need to have in the stock market before you can retire, where you can take that 4% that you just put in and have it every year. So some simple calculations are 50 grand is 1.25 million. 100 grand is 2.5 million. And the list goes on. If you wanted to live off of 200 grand, you would need $5 million in the stock market. So you need to decide what is worth to you. If you'd like to live what's called living pretty frugally and not have too much expenses, you can easily live off of 50K a year or maybe even slightly less. But if you'd like to work towards having a more lavish lifestyle or a lifestyle where you spend more, you're going to need to save up probably upwards of $2 to $3 million. Another beauty of the stock market is its passive income aspect to it. Now, if you don't know, passive income is money that is being made for you while you sleep, while you eat, while you're not working. The way you make passive income in the stock market is that over time, stocks go up in value. On average, every year, stocks go up 7% in value, meaning that without working, your money just made a 7% return, which is great. These stocks go up in value because the companies keep growing while you're not working for them, you're not doing anything for them. So, as an example of this passive income, let's use Apple stock. Say you had bought a share of Apple in the year 2000. A single share of Apple at that time cost roughly 30 cents. Today, Apple stands around $150 per share. That is over 450 times growth, guys, which is amazing. You could have turned your $1 into $450 across 20 years. Now, guys, I know not all picks are as good as picking Apple 20 years ago, but over time, your money is going to grow. So let's get into some stats and let me teach you about compound interest. To put it simply, having a compound interest means that your money is growing at an exponential rate, not a linear rate. So let me give an example so it's not so complicated. If you had $1, right, and it had a linear increase, so every year your money went up 7 cents. After 1 year, you'd have $1.07. After 2 years, $1.14, and so on, right? But there's far greater value in that compound interest or that exponential growth. Because instead of your money simply going up 7 cents every year, your money's going up 7% every year. Think about it this way. If you had that linear growth, it'd be like that original dollar is going and finding 7 cents every year. That's great and all. You're making 7 cents, but with compound interest, you are basically having that dollar and it goes and finds the 7 cents, right? Then those $1.07 goes finds another 7% and then another 7% and so on. So to show the great difference between compound interest and a linear growth, let's jump into some stats, okay? If you had $1,000 growing at $70 a year, because that is a linear growth, after 30 years, you would have $3,100, which is great. But with compound interest growing at 7% per year, you would have your $1,000 turned into $7,600. That is way more, over double the amount of money. Another beauty of the stock market that I wanted to tell you about is how it fights against inflation. Every year, the US dollar is facing inflation because of our deficit spending. Now, you don't need to know what all that means, but what you do need to know is that, say you had $1,000, right? In 10 years, it's looking like your $1,000 won't be able to buy the same amount of things you could buy right now. But the beautiful thing about the stock market is while the US dollar is going down in value, your money is going up in value, meaning that your purchasing power is actually going up. So even if in 10 years the US dollar goes down 10% in value, if your stocks went up 10% in value, you still have the same amount of things that you're able to buy, which is called purchasing power. And even better, usually the stock market outpaces inflation. The stock market goes up 7% a year, which is usually much higher than our inflation is. Take last year, for instance, actually. Last year, the stock market performed about 20 to 25% growth. It was a great year, while inflation went down 7%. That means that your purchasing power still went up about 15 to 20%, which is amazing. So say you put your money in a bank account instead of the stock market, right? Every year, all your extra money from your job, you put it away so that when you turn 65, you can retire off of it. Your money wouldn't have been growing and fighting inflation. So say you put in $1,000 right now, and then you turn 65 farther into the future, your money doesn't have the same value it holds today. But with the stock market, your money, once again, will fight inflation and some, making you a profit while you sleep. This brings me to my last point, which is when you should invest. I know money may be tight, but the best thing you can do is get in with as much as you can as early as possible. Because of that 7% growth rate, there's a large difference between how much money you can make if you had an extra 5 or 10 years in the market. But I don't want to just say things, I want to show you. So let's go into some examples, okay? Say right now you are 18 and have $1,000 that you want to put into the stock market, which is great. When you turn 65 or 47 years later, you would have roughly $24,000 achieving an average 7% growth rate in the stock market. But say you had waited until 30 to put in your $1,000, because you would only have your money in the market for 35 years if you put in your money at 30, you would actually only achieve having 10 grand instead of that 24 grand, which is a huge difference. You could have about 2.5 times more if you had just gone in those 12 years earlier. So to sum up this video, what I'm suggesting is get in as early as you can with as much as you can. Thank you so much for watching this video. I suggest you subscribe if you'd like more knowledge on the stock market and various investment strategies. In my next video, I'm going to be going over the different types of investments you can make and which is best for you based on how much risk you're able to take in your situation. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will try my best to answer. And thank you so much for staying until the end of the video. Have a great day.